All right, all right, all right. Good morning, everybody. Here we are live on a Friday. You made it to the end of the week. It was so hot yesterday that people were melting in the street. It looked like it anyway. Do you also feel like the temperatures were way too high for your body to be able to handle it?
Yeah, it's meant to rain. This is the thing. It's like the sprinklers are broken now, even in this place.
Yeah, right. Well, you are at Friday, which means you can pretty much do whatever you want for the next 2 days, and that means for many people, just walking around with very little clothing on, trying to keep themselves cool. You know, the kind of nice summer stuff that we wait all year for. I think it's awesome. Love
And
it.
I hope you've done enough in the year to be worth looking at in limited clothing, because that's another aspect of summer.
Yeah, that's
Public
a big part of it.
Public courtesy.
If you look like absolute shit by December, and and even if you're hot, you have no right to take off your clothes. Then,
well, and let that
No one
be
wants
a
to
lesson for next year. See, it's all about cycles, right? Just get it right.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so how you been?
Gareth, it's been a trying couple of days, but I'm fine. I'm happy. It's Friday. I just need to get through this week. I feel like Black Friday week is probably the worst of humanity. I mean, in my line of work, it's this endless sort of it's a cacophony of jabberings when it comes to people just trying to do things just for the sake of attention, and it's very draining. And I get it. That's how the world works. That's how retail works. But it's just humans just doing shit for nothing, really. And I find it so draining. That on the heat, and I feel like I've melted mentally and physically this week.
There is a cacophony of jabberings at that corner. Please come to silence.
Corner is basically like everyone nowadays, because everyone's talking about Black Friday.
Well, okay. So here's my problem: is I'll take any advice from anybody in the comments section, frankly, on this. I have to do some grocery shopping, so it's not like I have to go and buy anything in particular. But I probably should avoid that today, right?
If you could. But you don't really eat anything other than tomatoes. So
That's true.
I mean, you could probably go to some put stall like 20 meters from your house.
Yeah, I mean, I could buy it from a caravan if I needed to.
Exactly. That local gypsy woman. It's probably
There we go.
Gypsy tending woman. Those tomatoes with her small hands.
And doing tarot card readings while in case you want change. She goes, no, instead I give you tarot card reading. You're like, okay, I'll do that.
Well, I mean, maybe your tarot card reading is you don't need any more shit in your life. Because this is what people get so caught up in, this whole thing. I mean, again, it's not even Black Friday. I think it's just where we are as humans. It's like we need more things. People always believe they need more things. And ultimately, it's like looking at more social media. It doesn't actually make you happy. It just fills whatever void you have from other things.
Especially looking at social media on Black Friday, because it's all specials for stuff you don't need.
Well, is it specials? Because I know that people do is it called price gouging? Or what's the whole thing with it, where they say there's a discount, but it's actually the normal price?
Yeah, it's not specials. This is the point. Ryan and I were talking about this before the show began, and he's like, well, if you were getting like 70% off of stuff, then it would be, oh, wow, it's worth getting excited about Black Friday. If they're going to give you 10% off, I'm sorry, the retailers who do that are just criminals. They're just crooks.
But something else to consider is that we have a very weak rand, right? The rand is not a weak. It's not a weak thing.
Very
poor. Margins, anything that's been imported, the margins are really poor because we pay a lot for it. So don't think that retailers are going to go, hey, 40%. Like, they don't actually have the margin for these things as well. So unless it's something that's being produced locally that nobody wants, that's where you get your margin, because local production, surplus of supply, they can cut the price. So if you're looking for big savings, look for that one.
And as I said to a friend of mine, we were talking about this the other day, what is South Africa's greatest export? And the truth, and I'm not being horrible here, but the truth is, no, poverty. We are very good at selling poverty. That's like our story. So, politicians are all like poverty. So that's what we've got, I'm afraid. So, okay, when you talk about Black Friday, though, being a reflection of what we are as humans, that's very depressing.
It is somewhat depressing.
I find that very sad.
But don't you think, I mean, not that I'm trying to kick off the show with a depressing note here, but don't you think there's a lot of truth in that people, they fixate about buying stuff all the time because that's going to make them, I don't know, happier or have more things, and that's better?
Yeah.
as I get older, this kind of stuff hits home with me because I used to be the jackass who'd want to buy shit endlessly,
Yeah.
and it's like just general gifting season as well. It's like I actually get very nervous around gifts because as an adult, I pretty much got every single thing that I want. So if someone goes through the time and the effort to buy me something, I get super nervous because if I don't like it, I don't need it. It's like shit, you just wasted all this money.
So when people hear you say you've got all the things you want, what they hear is Ben is very rich and Ben is very spoilt and Ben has lots of stuff. But that's not what you mean. What you mean
No,
is you don't need a lot to keep you happy, right?
absolutely not. No, I've just become more pragmatic with life. Like I don't need a lot of things. I'm just trying to find ways of getting rid of things that not accumulating them.
So you're wearing a shirt that says Vasio Fleece, and that goes back to what we were saying earlier about it being, yeah, about it being,
Someone face
you
to
know,
face all day.
to show off. Yeah. So I don't know if you mentioned to me that you've already made your plans for December and you kind of know what you're doing, everything else. That's somewhere where I wouldn't mind a Black Friday popping up because I have no idea. And if I saw like a really interesting holiday offer or something even just a weekend away, frankly, it doesn't have to be expensive either. I'd take that up. I'm looking for a just a fun little weekend away, something cool. Maybe take 2 or 3 days either with family or friends and just go away
Mhm.
somewhere close. Even I'm not even fussy about it. Doesn't have to be somewhere far away or exotic or extravagant or anything like that.
No, it should always be something you want to do. But then again, then you're dealing with everyone else doing it at the same time, and that's the hardest thing about this time of year with travel.
Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
everybody was talking when I was on this trip to Greece and Rome just a short while ago. They were all talking about Saudi Arabia and how that's become the cool tourist destination of the future because they're building that huge big hotel in the middle of the desert. They're going to have like snow skiing,
Mm.
and Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who's the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, is apparently like a really forward thinking guy. And he realizes that, they can't just rely on oil forever. So they've got to come up with other things that they can sell. And one of the big things they could sell is tourism because, he's taking a leaf out of the Dubai book. And they're building that enormous, long kind of mirror thing in the desert too, and it looks pretty damn impressive. I'll tell you what, I'd be interested in going there, provided it didn't cost an arm and a leg.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, like, because they have to attract the world. So much like Dubai in the
Yeah,
beginning, they had to attract the world. So it was actually quite look, it's a luxury place, but it's still relatively affordable. And yeah, they're doing so many interesting things because it's become so competitive. There's lots of options for travel. And they're looking at Dubai going, yeah, well, we can definitely do that. And we can do it bigger and we can do it better. I've been
they
watching
have
some,
even, they have even more money.
well, yeah, because they basically are like the parent of someone like a Dubai. But I sometimes get into these sort of rabbit holes of watching construction videos, and then you'll get like a
Oh
video
wow.
with some guy talking really quickly about the 10 mega structures currently in development. And like
Yeah.
four or five of them are in Saudi Arabia. So I think it's I need to fact check this, but Saudi Arabia is trying to get the Winter European Games or something. And
Oh
they've
yeah.
literally found this place with like it's the highest part of Saudi Arabia, right? And they're gonna make it into like a ski resort. But they are
Wow.
literally making winter basically. So they're building a winter wonderland where there'll be it's not like that place in China where remember that one ramp? It was just like single ramp, bit of snow on it, and there was just like squatter around it. They
Yeah.
physically are actually making like a hilltop winter destination for an actual European Olympic, well, winter games.
It's true what they say. You can do anything with money.
Yeah, you can. And people say no, but there's certain things you can't, and I disagree. I think if you're a decent enough person, you can do absolutely everything with money.
Not even decent. You could be a really horrible person, and you like have your money established. I don't know, child sex ring or something. But um, you just have to have lots and lots of cash, and you can get anything done that you want. You could be Jeffrey
Yes.
Epstein, or you could be Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
You'll find your niche. So yeah, I'd love to go to Saudi Arabia at some stage. It's
I
really really
don't-
pretty. There's a couple of those like
Mm,
Oman is also worth going to
yeah,
apparently. Um,
yeah.
and then even there's certain places around the Mediterranean that people don't even talk about. Obviously, not the
Mhm.
time of year now, but to think of somewhere like Albania, That's also pretty decent. There's all these different
Apparently,
places. There's all these different places. If you look just like another sort of notch here and there, and they're all very competitive for the travel money. I mean, that's the best way to build an economy, right? Where you don't have
mm,
resources or other
yeah,
things like this place.
and you better do it soon because if Russia decides to nuke Ukraine or something, then it won't be there for very long.
Yeah. But
Sorry, it's a bit of
speaking about
reality.
about major structures, like Dubai always, it's almost like they have to do this thing where they come together and go, what are we building now that's going to be the next biggest thing?
Oh yeah.
And prior to COVID, they were looking to build the biggest ever Ferris wheel, basically, like observation thingy. So
Oh,
you get
like the London Eye or like that
yeah,
wheel in
you get
Cape Town or
yeah. So
okay,
being Dubai, what they did was they reclaimed this patch of land, and then they were going to make it like this own little island attraction. So it would have this thing. It's
okay,
the AIN Dubai. It's going to have
okay.
that. It's going to have obviously hotels. It's going to have retail. It's going to have restaurants, all those kind of things. And you could also live there in apartments. And it took them, I think, about 6 years to build. It was meant to take about 2 years, but then COVID happened, and then they created the greatest. This thing's ridiculous. It's almost double the size of London Eye, which
Gee,
is that's the whole thing with them, is right. They've got to keep pushing to new frontiers. But
huh?
this thing has also not been working for the last 18 months. It's basically now just
Balls.
doesn't work. It doesn't work. So
So
people are
what? It's
saying that it's
sitting there?
what's that?
It's just sitting there and
It
gathering
is.
dust.
It is. AIN Dubai. It's just sitting there. It's been 18 months. If anyone who lives in Dubai can tell me more, but it's all very hush hush. You go onto the website and it's like we're currently upgrading facilities or some stuff, and it's going to be closed for the time being. But it is this gigantic thing. And then obviously no one goes to this little piece of reclaimed land anymore. And you look at this and go, that is like a daily reminder that you guys have actually maybe pushed things a bit too far. So, like people who work on the island said that when this thing turns, the entire island shakes and vibrates, and like
Oh
windows break
shit!
because it's just so incredibly gigantic. Like it's just too big for what they want to do.
What a mess.
So you look
That
at
sounds
that, and
terrible.
it's not like it's just you can't get away from it. It's just part of the skyline now, but it doesn't work, and it must be such a massive embarrassment for them because it's one thing if you those islands didn't work. It's an island, right?
Mm,
You can't see it. You
yeah.
know it's there somewhere, but this thing is in your face all day, not working.
It sounds absolutely stupid, but this is also what happens. You see, that's the obverse of the coin, or the reverse rather of the coin. When you have lots of money and you can do lots of things, you also waste lots of money.
Yeah, you go
Um,
too far.
and if you're a country or a government, you have deep pockets to waste. Look at the stupid things our government has done. They put up that they were going to remember they were going to put up that huge big statue, and then they decided to change their mind.
Well, they went to
Um,
the big flagpole,
Huge flagpole. There are a whole lot of stupid things that they've wanted to do too. But
Minister of
I do admire
Electricity.
this. I think you feel the same way I do about this, is that if we were building something truly amazing, like let's say some absolutely beautiful monument out of stone or something that really would last for hundreds of years, and people would look back on it in like 500 years time and go, look at that thing that those people in 2023 built. I'd be proud of that. But
Yeah,
they're not thinking of that stuff.
I often look at that as well. It's that people don't actually care about that because they got to make money. People used to talk, we spoke about this. People used to talk about legacies and how they'll be remembered as people. Now it's about commercial success. And that whole big wheel in Dubai, if that thing worked, I mean, you could hire out the little pods. You could have your own birthday in there. You could like a club,
Yeah,
whatever. They were just trying
yeah.
to make more money. They weren't trying to build anything truly beautiful.
Well, that's also what happens so much in this country, is that, people companies especially, so busy trying to like add to the bottom line. And we were talking about this yesterday with Pumi. It's like accountants, when they take over, they make everything boring and nothing pretty. So that's kind of where we're at. And just to prove the point, I want to show you, this is so awful. This makes me throw up a little bit in my mouth, but it's so typical of like the corporate world. So, the corporate world has ruined pretty much everything that is creative and lovely in the world. And here are some examples of corporate Christmas cards. If that doesn't make you a little bit queasy, I don't know what will. Uh, I hope you achieve your Christmas KPIs moving forward.
Wow.
We We wish you an outcomes-focused Christmas and an agile New Year.
That's pretty funny though.
It's so bad. Can you imagine the people who the people who would like a card like this are exactly the kind of people I never want to have in my life. Have a
No,
best in class integrated end-to-end Christmas.
but I feel like the people who made this aren't these kind of people. This is a pure piss take. The
No,
people who are like this in life won't even find the humor.
it's a total piss take, but I that part I do
Brilliant.
like. And then inside it says, "Let's reach out, circle back, and touch base in the new year." Um,
Wow.
Here's to holiday solutions that ladder up to your overarching deliverables in the Christmas space.
That's brilliant.
Isn't that great? But I mean, this is how people in companies talk, right? And that's probably why I find it so revolting. But
Yeah,
if
that's
you
kind of
work
funny.
if you work
Yeah,
in a corporation, actually how
imagine
people talk to each other.
imagine you hear that all year and someone actually gives that to you. You don't see the joke. How mad you would be.
Well, I think there are some people who wouldn't actually understand that it's meant to be funny, and they would think, "Oh, well, that's a good yeah, I should really give that to Clive. He's a good sales guy. He would appreciate that message for Christmas." I could see people enjoying that.
We're getting comments, Gareth, asking where Simpiwe is. Do you want to spread
Oh,
some
good
light on
point.
the situation?
Simpiwe is not there's nothing wrong with her. She's just she's taken the day off. She's got a long weekend this weekend. So don't worry about Simpiwe. She'll be back next Friday.
She Black Friday is harder than any of us.
Oh,
Clearly.
she does. That's true. She's going to be hitting those stores with a vengeance today.
She's currently in a queue somewhere, actually. We should really get Ryan to call her, standing outside of Macro or something.
That would be very funny because I'm pretty sure she's standing outside some massive shop waiting for like 20% off a TV or something. We'll find out. We'll find out next week.
20%. She'll make sure she gets 40. You've heard her game plans.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's absolutely right. Okay. So one or two other things. I noticed yesterday was Thanksgiving in America.
Right.
And I think it's quite cool to like if there was a holiday that we could do with in South Africa, it would be Thanksgiving. Because really the idea of being grateful and showing some gratitude is never a bad idea. That's the whole thing behind Thanksgiving. There are all kinds of historical precedents for it and all that sort of stuff. But essentially what it is you sit down with your family. It's a pre-Christmas thing. It's the start of the holidays in America. You sit down with your family and you go around the table and everybody says something that they're grateful for. And I wonder if South Africans did that, whether we wouldn't be so bitter and resentful about so many things. Because I do hear a lot of people moaning and complaining. Hey, I moan and complain a lot, but it might be a fun exercise to do here, even though it's just you and I this morning. I mean, like, what are you really grateful for going into the end of the year? Because it shouldn't be hard for people to pick one thing that they're actually pleased about, that they're thankful for, that they have some gratitude in their hearts for.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I'm grateful for. I've got a great family. I love them very much. I've got a great life partner. I love her very much. She's cool. I love my business partners. They're great people. I love my golf course where I play golf. Basically, like there's about
Are you
23,000
grateful
things that.
for your Christmas KPIs moving forward?
Yes, that too. Because I'm going to circle back to that in a second. But I'm grateful for every single day. Actually, like gratitude's been a huge thing that's been the biggest add-on in my last sort of 2 years. You know, every single day I find something that makes me really, really laugh about so many things. Like I'm grateful for 2 or 3 WhatsApp groups that make any situation funny, even though it's really nothing to share with other people because they might not understand the humor. But I'm
Yeah.
grateful for like the one friend who finds something funny about, I don't know, there's like just one niche that I have a friend just for that on. And I'm grateful for the fact that there isn't a dull hour in my day. Like there literally isn't. I have so many different facets that go towards that. So yeah, I think people should do this because being grateful means that you can actually find something in this tiniest little niche in your life. And that's cool because that makes you
Well,
taste to bigger
it's
things.
it's even bigger than that because if you have if you are a grateful person and you are genuinely thankful for some things in your life, that completely erases bitterness and resentment. It's the
Yeah.
actual it's the real antidote to that stuff. So if you find that you're a very angry, very sullen, very bitter, very jealous, resentful, unhappy person, the best way to get out of that is to find something that you can be grateful for and to remind yourself of that daily. I met a guy yesterday. Let me see if his book is here. I don't know where the book is, but he's an Afghanistan war veteran. He lost his arm in Afghanistan in 2009. He subsequently went on to win Paralympic gold for cycling. He climbed Mount Everest. He's been to the North Pole. This is all with one arm, right? And the guy, he very nearly lost his life in Afghanistan. There is not a stitch, and I mean this, and we'll play out the interview soon. You're going to love this guy. His name is Jaco van Gas. He's actually from South Africa. He joined the British Army and he went off to Afghanistan, and he tells us in detail what happened on the day that he lost his arm and how it all happened and kind of what the place is like. And I mean, just such unbelievable detail. But you'll hear in the interview, this guy, despite having lost an arm in a war which most of us think was a waste of time, he has no bitterness, no resentment, no anger. He's just grateful that he survived. And he's making such a contribution in the world today. And I marvel at people like that. You see, when someone says, that's very inspiring, they don't actually mean that. What they mean is it makes them feel good.
Yeah.
But this guy, sitting with him yesterday, and I said to Dory and the rest of the team afterwards, after I'd interviewed, they were like, how was the interview? And I said, it was probably my favorite interview of the year.
Nice.
And, I've met some truly amazing people this year. But I have to say that this guy, and he brought his wife along, and she's also just, a really bubbly, lovely person. But to think about how many of us would be able to come out of losing an arm and you'd be okay. You'd kind of carry on with your life and make something of it. I think that's phenomenal. I really do. I'm just absolutely blown away by people like that. And this guy, that's inspiring to me. And why it's inspiring to me is not just because it makes me feel good. It's because I think how lucky I am, first of all. So there's a bit of Schadenfreude. Like I've got both arms and they both work.
Yeah.
Something simple like that. There's also, by the way, there's this guy at gym, one of the gyms that I go to regularly, and he's got like one arm, and he trains just as hard as everyone else. And I think, wow, he doesn't make excuses. He's not one of these people sitting at home going, so much work to actually get dressed and go to gym, and I don't know if I'm going to bother. He could quite easily sit on his backside and go, well, you know what? I've got one arm, so I'm never going to be able to do certain things. But he doesn't. He gets up, he goes to gym every day. I think that's so goddamn good. That
Well,
blows my mind.
it's a bunch of focus points, right? I mean, like we all have stress. Like I just told you about 20 things that I love. I've also got 20 things that really grate my balls every single day because
Sure.
that's life. But if I was the kind of person that would only focus on those 20, not the other ones that I mentioned, then I would be really grumpy. So this guy, yeah, great example. Got one arm. Imagine if he just focused on that, like, oh, I'm never going to be a
Well,
wrestling champ. But he's
Carl
not.
says,
He's looking somewhere else.
he says, I'm grateful, as in full of great. Most people are just grateful that I'm in their lives. Well, that's the kind of humility we need in our existence. That's
See,
exactly right.
Carl's focus point is on his perceived greatness. If he had to
Yes.
if he had to focus on reality, he'd be really upset. So good on you, Carl.
I mean, here's Madara, who's got something interesting to say. He says, I'm thankful that I have malaria and not cancer, elbow cough. Well, it's the small things. Yeah.
Exactly. There it is.
I'm grateful every day for how useless our government is. They couldn't pull off autocracy with George Orwell telling them what to do. Yeah. You can either look at it and go, "Oh my God, we live in such a shit country, and the president is a useless guy, and most of the ministers don't know what they're doing, and nothing works." Or you could go, "We live in the most free country in the world, where you could pretty much do anything you want."
Yeah. Virus also makes a really good point. Imagine if your balls actually were grated. I
It would
mean,
be a very uncomfortable thing.
that I'm grateful that my balls aren't actually being grated. Let's see. It's happened to someone in the world. That's where the phrase came from, obviously.
You know what I'm grateful for as well? There's this restaurant that is walking distance from our office, and they make an unbelievable Greek salad. Like unbelievable.
Wow, that's a
And I mean, how much how much creativity can you have with a Greek salad? But when I tell you that this is the best salad, like I sometimes think about that salad during the week and I'm upset that I'm not there eating it, but I'm grateful that I can just go across the road to get it. So
but
good is
is
that.
I mean, is it also because the woman has a big mustache? Like, what makes it so incredibly
No,
special?
and I
Just
don't know, they just it tastes just it's the
fresh olive
best.
oil.
I don't know. Something about it that's just perfect. So I'm grateful for that. So there we go. That's
That's
our Thanksgiving for this morning. Aren't you impressed? Ben came up with a whole goddamn list, and I came up with a guy without an arm in Afghanistan and a Greek salad. But there we are.
well,
Yeah, it's a
see, everyone's
different
gonna have
show.
those things. Yeah, but look, it's
Oh,
another thing you should also do at Christmas, perhaps. We don't have Thanksgiving, and we shouldn't try sort of steal other holidays and appropriate other things from other people, like
right.
Black Friday had become. So maybe it's something worth doing just on your birthday. I know, like maybe because I'm in my 40s, but my birthday is next week, and it always makes me hugely
Yes.
introspective. But it's also a really good time to take stock of like how cool your life is and how cool the things are that you have.
Yeah, rather than feeling sad about some, that you don't
Man,
have this or you don't have that, or that
yeah,
I'm getting old or whatever. That's a good
yeah.
point. I'm grateful for getting the hell out of corporate, says Propaganda. Yeah. Yes. If you don't have one of those jobs where you have to clock in and clock out and, you know, fill in KPI reports, what every 3-4 months. Imagine doing that. Um, Snipes says Oscar Pistorius is coming out apparently. Another government look that way while comrades hide money using media, not just SABC. Well, I mean, he has been in jail for a while. And,
Has he?
I think he's been in since 2014. It's
Has
almost
it
10
been that
years.
long? Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost 10 years. So we don't put murderers in jail for life in this country, and he was found guilty of murder, so he has to come out at some point. I don't know
Well,
when you
it's.
want that to be.
I'm just pulling up an article here. When's this published? 22nd November. Okay. Oscar Pistorius could be freed by the weekend.
Hmm.
That's as in today, not the musician.
Well, hide your daughter, but other than that, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, so today, Friday, the parole board
Oh,
gets together and has a look.
right. He's got to come out eventually. You can't
That'd be quite
keep
a
the guy in jail forever.
Black Friday ad. Hey, who's the first person to get Oscar on there?
Oh, who's thinking about to invite him for Christmas? That would be a whole different thing. Oh, listen, speaking of inviting people, we've got a special on, especially for all the people who listen to the Burning platform. This is really a very limited, exclusive thing we're doing. Next Thursday, which is the 30th of November, we have an exclusive live viewing of the Burning platform. It's going to be happening live. We will allow a studio audience in, and it'll be with me, Pumi, and Kanthan for the launch of Kanthan's new book, which is called How to Fix South Africa. Here it is. An owner's manual. This is Kanthan's new book, How to Fix South Africa, an owner's manual. And we will be doing that live. Now, if you want to be part of this conversation and stay for some coffee and croissants, then tickets are 150 Rand. I mean, it's nothing at CompuTicket. That's really just to cover the costs. Come along. All you have to do is go into CompuTicket and just search Burning Platform. It's that easy. Go into CompuTicket, Burning platform. The first couple of tickets, we've only got a few open. So if you want to be in, get in immediately. That's the Burning platform live happening at cliffcentral.com. Also, if you want to come and see our new digs, we're going to be doing that specially. So head on to CompuTicket and search Burning Platform. We'll also put some of those details up for those people who want to know. But if you want to go, that's what you got to do. Got it?
Amazing. You should be doing more live shows, Gareth, but we'll get into that. We'll circle back to that in a bit, and I'll
We'll
tell you why
circle.
with your golden thread.
Yes. We'll circle.
Before we get into sport, I just have to read you the opening paragraph of this Oscar story. So, like I said, the parole board decides today if he's going to come out, and if all, I'm reading this word for word. And if
Yeah.
all goes his way, the former athlete could be back at the Waterkloof, Pretoria mansion of his uncle, Arnold Pistorius, where he is
Yes.
expected to serve his parole by as early as the weekend. Back at
Well, how
Uncle
nice.
Arnold's Abbey, him.
Uncle
That's a full
Arnold's
circle.
Abbey. Yeah. That was one of our favorite soap operas for a long time. We used to have regular Uncle Arnold's Abbey right here on cliffcentral.com.
I remember, I think writing that script whenever we used to do it was the final straw of my body hating me.
It was so stupid. I found a video. Someone put up a video of like 10 years ago when we used to do those parody songs for Christmas. And I will admit I laughed my ass off. It was Damon singing, "This Christmas I'll eat and I'll fart."
Those are really good songs. They're still work now.
Yeah, no, they're hilarious. Okay,
Because
but
that's how Damon would do it.
yeah, he would. It would sound exactly the same if you did it now. Okay, so let's look at this quickly. We've got Beyond the Scoreboard with Ben Karpinski. This is where we check in on all the sport that's coming up over the weekend, what we'll be doing this weekend, what you can bet on, and we'll try and get some tips from Ben as well. So where do we begin?
Well, Gareth, I just want to tell you that we've got a great summer of cricket happening. I know we just lost the World Cup and we screwed that up. And obviously, there's huge sort of people going, we did it again or we didn't do it again. But India are coming to SA for the festive season, essentially, which means huge amounts of money coming into Cricket South Africa, which is good, which means they can survive for more years. But more importantly, like pretty much the whole country gets a chance to see India, which is one of the best teams in the world. We've got T20s happening first. So December in Durban. December the 10th, Kberger gets a game on the 12th of December and the 14th December in Joburg. Those are your T20s. Then we got 3 ODIs, 17 December, Johannesburg, 19th back at Kberger, 21st in Paarl. So 3 T20s, 3 ODIs, and then we got the 2 token test matches. I know it won't be played as token. It'd just be really cool if we had more of the test matches.
Why do you call them token test matches?
Well, because back in the day, a series used to be around test matches, and the one days would be kind of either side of that. It would be like a thing. But now it's all about getting the limited overs cricket up there. That's the big crowd pullers. And then they kind of just go, well, we'll have you 2 test matches. Because how do you have a test series with only 2 matches? This doesn't feel right. I mean, 3 minimum should be the case. But the 2 test matches that you can enjoy are December 26th, 30th at Centurion. So there you go, Gareth. Screw your Black Friday holiday. Just
Centurion.
Pack a cooler box, go to Centurion, get a vest tan, and just get like drunk on the banks. Can't go wrong.
It's right up the road. Yeah, exactly. I mean, what am I looking for? Everything is right here.
I like the finer things in life as much as the next person, but I'm also one of the people. And having a day at Centurion is one of the things that always makes my heart glow. It's just a nice place to get a little bit hammered. It is. It's cool. It's like a village oval with like infrastructure. It's really great. So then the final test match of the series will be 3 to 7 January in Newlands, which is still the best test ground in the entire world. Screw you, Adelaide. It's amazing. So we've got all of these games to look forward to. There's cricket just taking up our whole festive season. Amazing. And our team isn't that shite. I know we didn't win the World Cup. We still got a good team. So that's something to look forward to on the cricket front. Last week was actually quite interesting sort of Formula One in that they went to Las Vegas. I know we've all tapped out of our Formula One being competitive because Verstappen won everything. But it was really cool how they have taken it to Vegas and they made it happen. There was all kinds of drama of it not working and drain covers being exposed and the fact that it was 2 a.m. in Vegas and it was cold, but it looked really cool. And this weekend, it also looks really cool because it's in Abu Dhabi. So it's the final Formula One. And just to kind of run some other sort of numbers by you, because again, obviously Verstappen's going to win this weekend. So it's not like something worth mentioning. But he is currently got 549 points for the season. Now, I remember Lewis Hamilton used to be the everything of the sport, right? Lewis Hamilton's best season, 413 points. You get 25 points for a win. That is just incredible how much more dominant Verstappen has been. 18 wins, 20 podiums this season. His nearest rival is his teammate on 273 points with just 2 wins. Like it is something to really marvel at. I know it's quite boring. But yeah, Abu Dhabi this weekend for the final Grand Prix of the year. There's also Joburg Open, which is happening this weekend here in Johannesburg at the Houghton Golf Club now. The Joburg Open, together with the Investec SA Open and Alfred Dunhill at Leopard Creek, are like the 3 big events here locally for golf. So they're co-sanctioned, meaning the DP World Tour is aligned with that. And the fields are damn good. Pretty much every big South African golfer will be at Houghton this weekend. Tristan Lawrence is currently at 8 under after the first round, leading by 3. So if you are in the area, I would suggest going to go watch there. If you're going to be hot and melting, you might as well do it in a nice place. And Houghton is really pretty. So that's something to look forward to. And of course, the SA Open coming up at Blair Athol, which is something we'll get into next week. And then on the rugby front, well, there are some box now finally filtering into the URC. So the Bulls backline for this weekend is looking shit hot. Friday first up though tonight, the Stormers will be away to Cardiff at 9:35. Saturday's game see Lions at home versus Zebre at 5-3. Bulls will be taking on Connaught to just beat a really shite Sharks team by 1 point. They'll be at 5. The Sharks are hosting the Dragons. I don't know what to say about the Sharks, really. I'm just trying to stay positive, but that's not looking so great.
Why have I never, and I did hear you mention this a couple of weeks ago, but until this year, I didn't hear about Dragons or Zebre or any of this stuff. What is this?
Well, so the United Rugby Championship has teams from Wales. We spoke recently about if there's any sort of funny names, it's probably going to be Welsh. So
Yeah.
Dragons and Ospreys, and I don't know where these people come up with this stuff. And then the Irish, of course. So a place like Connaught, where I don't know where Connaught originates from, but I think it's because it's so cold and it's always windy there that it just, those are the sounds of the words. And then, of course, you've got traditional teams like Leinster versus Munster, which is the big game this weekend, 8:30. So yeah,
Okay.
and some Italian teams like the Zebre. That's basically zebra with an E at the end. So so you learn a bit. You learn a bit about Europe. You learn a bit about Europe when you watch rugby. See, rugby is a very cultured sport. So those are your big sort of United Rugby Championships, URC things, and of course, like football is still the biggest thing. I know people were talking about the Bafana building here, and they beat Benin, and we weren't impressed. And then they went and played Rwanda, and they lost to Rwanda 2-0. So that little blip that people were giving me gears about not covering, there
we are done. Yeah, count that one in. Finished.
The Premier League right now is, Man City on top of the log there on 28, Liverpool 27, Arsenal 27. Spurs, who were unbeaten, have just lost their last 2 matches, so they've gone down to 26 points. Man City versus Liverpool on Saturday at 2:30, huge game. Newcastle versus Chelsea at 5, Brentford versus Arsenal at 7:30, and then Sunday, Spurs will be trying to get back into winning ways against Aston Villa at 4, and Everton versus Man United at 6:30. I don't want to be a downer, but I mean, it is at the end of the year, so it's not the most exciting of sports things, but there's always stuff on the go, which is great. And of course, having cricket locally again means you can physically go watch the stuff. So that's something to look out for and be excited about, I guess.
Well, you've told me to go and watch some cricket at Centurion. How can I say no?
Yeah, Carl has a very inappropriate comment, which I'd like to address and put him in his place instantly here. Carl says, Ben, what do international golfers think of our shitty courses and change rooms as they are as good as theirs? Is it embarrassing for us? Carl, the golf courses here are amazing. The facilities are right up there with the best in the world. So once again, you're talking out of your ass. And maybe if you were just not always going to Reading Golf Course in the south, I don't know where you live, but I'm assuming.
Yeah. No, it's embarrassing. Tell him.
Houghton, great. It might not be the best course in the country because it's short and maybe not the best layout because they had to alter it, but it's beautiful. It's immaculate. Facilities are incredible. Blair Athol is world class. Some of the best facilities you'll actually see. Leopard Creek is people on the DP World Tour. They prioritize that as the best course of the year, as in it is the best course. It's the best course in the country. It's right next to Kruger Park. You probably won't find, I would say it's in the top 10 most striking and dramatically incredible golf courses in the entire world.
Wow. So, give Carl shit because he obviously goes to a really shitty golf course.
Yeah. Carl goes to some local municipal pitch and putt where someone's like peeing in the car park and now he wants to bring that to us. Carl, I literally, off the top of my head, I can tell you about for an hour how amazing golf courses are in this country and the facilities and the people who make it part of their lives.
Right. Okay. So there's a bit of a rebuke from Ben, especially for Carl this morning. He gets a bit uppity in the comment section there. You can see.
He does because Carl gets a bit full of himself. Anyway, Gareth, let's not talk about Carl. Is there any sort of Black Friday happening in our world of super bets?
Well, yes, there is, because this Black Friday, you can level up your gaming and betting experience with a 5% bonus deposit, which means that could be up to 5,000 Rand to play on any Play Vegas games or sport betting markets. Deposit between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. today, the 24th of November, and you could claim your bonus and maximize your play and potential winnings. So go to Beyond the Scoreboard on cliffcentral.com for more info and the terms and conditions. You can click through from there to Super Bets, and you can go and win. What would you bet on for this weekend? What's your tip for the weekend, Ben?
Wouldn't get the greatest odds, but I think Tristan Lawrence will go wire to wire at the Joburg Open. He was damn good in Dubai last week against like the best in the world, and he's opened up with an 8 under par. Yeah, and I just think that when it goes to football, yeah, see, the thing is, like, I would love to tell you with authority about the football stuff, but I just don't have a good enough handle on it. I mean, Man City are just so good, and that game against Liverpool is the big one to watch. So, yeah, you got to think that Man City, they started a bit stuttery. I would say back them now to really hit their straps because this is a time where squads are really stretched over the festive season, and they
Mhm.
have obviously the best squad.
Very
Yeah.
good. There's a proper solid tip. Go to Beyond the Scoreboard on cliffcentral.com. You'll find out all the info and you get a 5% deposit bonus. So if you put down, $500, you will get 5% from them for nothing just because it's Black Friday. So go along and take part in that today. Also got Temba Robin joining us a little bit later on. He's always fun and he's been making some hilarious stuff on TikTok recently. I don't know if you've been watching, but he's made fun of Cyril. He's done a bunch of other really funny things there too. So if you haven't seen any of the stuff he's up to, then go and watch his subscribe to his TikTok, and also at the same time you can get him live on this show, and you can find out whether it's worth it or not. Now, I want to know your thoughts on this. As you wake up this morning, I really think humanity is in a bit of a downward spiral. I see this story. Germany has the most amount of men who sit down to pee.
Wow, that's sad. That is so sad.
Yeah, 40% of men in Germany sit down to pee every single time. Collectively, these guys are known in Germany as Sitzpinklers.
Okay, I've got a couple of obvious questions right off the bat. Who wanted to do this survey and who would admit to this survey?
Clearly, these guys are not embarrassed to admit that they are Sitzpicklers.
But where did the question come about? This is something
what,
I've never been curious about.
It's probably a university because you know how they've run out of things to study and research that actually advance humanity. So now they're just looking at dumb stuff that is entry level that people can say, oh, well, I studied this at university. And they do surveys like this. So here is the full league table of countries where men are most likely to sit down to urinate. And what a disgrace this is for the West. And frankly, in this list, for white people. Because let's look at it. We got Germany at the top, then Sweden, then Denmark, then Canada, then Australia, then Spain, Italy, France, the US at number 9, and then only Singapore breaking the kind of Western Europe and North America hoodoo there, and then Britain, Poland, and Mexico. Mexico, you've got a lot to be ashamed about by even being
Yeah, I'm
included.
surprised by Mexico. But now, would this have a lot to do with people just being obsessed with their phones? Because if you sit down, you can be on your phone and like, well, I'm going to sit down anyway if I'm peeing or the other one.
I just think, it's this is just such an unmanly thing to do. I know we're going to get people who are all very new age and think that it's absolutely fine if men were to sit down and pee. I'm sorry, call me a traditionalist, but I don't think it's right. There are two things that I remember my dad saying when I was very little. As a boy, if the bathroom is full of girls and they're all lined up at any place, as a guy, you go out and pee outside, provided it's the sort of place you're allowed to pee outside. Like if it's someone's garden or whatever, you ask permission, but you go and pee outside because the girls get preference in the bathroom. So if you're a real man, you pee outside if there's that option. The other thing is that you never get into the pool at the shallow end. You never get in at the steps if you're a guy. You have to jump into a pool.
Absolutely.
Am I right? Oh,
absolutely.
So those are two things. And to sit down to pee is just, it's unbelievable to me that people would be volunteering this information.
Yeah. Well, look, Uber drivers don't have this luxury. There's also that. But I just think you're so right that there's certain things as a guy that are just written in stone. You just don't do. And people keep going, but nowadays we can do what we want. Like, no,
can't.
There's a framework in place here over centuries that have defined greatness or just normal kind of things. And
you're
now they're just
embarrassing
breaking it.
everyone else who's human. So you know what? I don't like this at all. This survey is very deeply disappointing.
Hugely disappointing. There are some other questions coming out here in the comments. What if you have a micro penis? Maybe standing up if you've got a micro penis, says Vincent, isn't the best thing.
But surely you can still point and aim, even if it's tiny. Let's imagine you've got a penis the size of just the end of your pinky finger. You can still grab hold of that and aim it. And I mean, it's a very important skill for a guy to have. You don't want, as a guy, to be peeing all over the place, spraying the floor with pee. You need to gain control of that thing. It's very important.
Yeah. So
It's a horrible story.
what Don's
Yeah.
saying here is that when he lived in Namibia, a lot of guys sat down to pee. So I read that and I thought, how do you know? He says, well, because people used to complain about there being pee on the seat.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's another good reason to stand if you can and not have to touch the toilet seat. Especially if you go to a public place. Why would you want to sit down to pee in a public place, right?
Yeah, that's just embarrassing.
It's Tabos is called dick control. Absolutely. Yeah. And Indy says, "Oh wow, for once South Africa isn't on that list of bad things. Yay us." Yeah. You'd be hard pressed to find a South African man who will admit to sitting down when he pees. It's a terrible admission of not really being a proper man. A friend of mine does this, is hanging out with Jay. He says it's because it helps pissing in the bowl. He is black, by the way, lol. Okay, so
Get
I
your
don't
eyes
understand.
tested.
Still, can't you aim? I mean, to me, this is something very rudimentary. You learn this as a 4-year-old, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a very bad sign. Honestly, men, if you're a man who sits down to pee, I don't. I think you've got to give up on life. Like, it's the end for you. Everything else is going to start to fall apart in your life. It's just the first sign of you really giving up on those things that make you a man. Next thing, they'll be measuring how many guys stand and take a shit. Well, funny enough, that's what Carl says. He says, "I'm a real man. I stand to shit." Yeah.
But you can't. You have to get into the squat position. Unless and
Yeah, I think he's doing this.
yeah. I mean, if you want to try that, great. But you,
All right, but Lindy does make a good point. She says South African men should sit down to pee. I'm disturbed by the number of assholes I see peeing on the side of the road. Yeah, I think that's just bad planning. Again, these are the sort of people who you must never marry or trust to make decisions or give an important job to, because they don't even have the forward planning ability to go, I'm going to be in the car. I'll need to pee. Let me go to the nearest, because there are toilets everywhere. Are you kidding? Every garage, shopping mall, you could find a loo almost anywhere. So for someone who's peeing on the side of the road because they're just desperate to pee, that's bad planning. It shows that they're actually the kind of person who has no ability to think forward.
I often think that I'm kind of working to when I can build my own house and have like a settled home. Like the two things I
Mm,
obviously want are going to be like a sauna and like how I
mm,
position the cold plunge with that. But the third thing I
yeah.
want to I want to have to show real wealth and personality is that I want a urinal. I've always
Yes.
wanted a
Me too.
urinal in my own house.
I think
Always.
that's a lovely thing to
And
have.
I've always wanted to go to someone's house and see a urinal and then celebrate with them how incredibly forward thinking they are. I've always wanted that. I just haven't had that moment in my life yet. If you own a urinal in your house, please take a photo. I want to be happy with you.
Yes, I mean, that is truly a sign of great opulence. As a man, if you can actually build in a urinal, then you are truly winning at life.
Well, Gareth, you look at all these simpy men who make man caves. Screw that. Waste of time, stupid. Have a lounge the rest of your family, but have a urinal. That should be the new man
Yeah.
cave. That should be the
Yes.
new masculine flex.
And when people hear you say this, they think it's very odd, especially ladies. They're like, well, why would you want that? Because to stand and pee is a very great privilege. It's something that you want. It's something as a guy that you feel comfortable doing, and it's so much less maintenance. I mean, the toilets all the way down there, and if you do, let's say there's some spray or whatever, you wipe the seat, all that stuff. Urinal, you're right there. It's at perfect height. Everything's perfect. It's very important. These things, Ben, I'm pleased you acknowledge that. That's an
Yeah.
important thing. Guys should be saying, and if you're a guy who has a urinal in your private residence, wow, that's just magnificent. Good for you.
I,
Um,
sh- Out of interest, I'm gonna find out how much they cost. Maybe there's a Black Friday on a urinal, Gareth.
It's probably not very expensive, and you just get a good plumber, and they can come in and do it for you. I'm pretty sure it would up the selling price of your house.
Yeah, look
There's
at
Yep,
Eurobath and Tile, you can get one for 4,190 rand. A
sounds quite
handsome one at
expensive.
that. I
That's
mean,
quite
there are cheaper ones. I mean, if you go to Builders, Icon Urinal Small White, 939.
Listen, while we're talking about this stuff, I saw you do a thing on your Instagram this week that you've got to explain to the rest of us. We've only got a couple of minutes here, but the old man test.
Yeah, so, how do you define old people? They don't move very well, right? And that's what makes them
Uh,
very old.
yeah, I think you're old when you stop moving with
Yeah.
ease and comfort. Yeah, I think that's
I
right.
mean, so if you look at an old person, there's certain things that define them and therefore define why they're old. And one of them is that they're just creaky and they can't move properly. So the old man test is, how do you put on your socks and shoes by standing on one leg? So obviously the shoe, you put it on that foot, you stand on the other leg, and then vice versa. So I put this thing out because, it should be one of those basics, like, standing to pee as a guy, you should be able to also do the old man test. And we don't
Yeah.
prioritize these kind of things because we think it's just trivial. But if you have the ability to do that, you'll have the ability to do so many other things. Actually,
Hmm.
it's part of my newsletter today that I have with my sort of guys that I focus on.
Ah,
And
yes.
it's such an important thing to try and realize how shit you are at it. So when you put your shoes on today, try do it on one
Mhm.
leg. And when you fall, experience and enjoy that moment of shame, and then forever try work on being better.
So, explain what you have to do here in detail so we can all just try this. I mean, I
Yeah.
would prefer if you just went and saw the video, but just explain it to people who aren't watching.
So let's, for example, stand on your right foot, and then you obviously raise your left one. Okay, so you're on one leg, and now put a
Mhm.
sock on the left foot while balancing on your right foot. Then put your shoe on the left foot, and you're still only on that right foot. So now
Okay.
you're going to feel an intense burning in your glutes. You're going to feel your hamstrings working, all that kind of stuff. You're going to be sweating because it's
Right.
uncomfortable. It sounds so silly, but if you can do that kind of stuff, means that you are naturally quite strong and capable and good balance. If you are carrying too much weight, or if you have no strength in your legs or no balance, these are not good
Yeah.
things. You should not have this in your life. It's as simple as that. And the old man test just gives you one of those things. It is so incredibly easy to do, easy to remind you of things you should work on.
And don't feel bad if you fall, because a lot of people will
No,
fall.
you
Laugh
will.
at yourself, and that also keeps you humble.
Yes.
Is that
And
right?
it's good. Yeah, it's good to be humbled by this kind of stuff.
All right. So
That and pull-ups. Do that, you'll be a happier human being.
I'm going to try and do the old man test today. I'm going to see if I can do it without
And
falling.
everyone, just, you know what? Actually, film it and then tag me so I can either ridicule you or help you, whichever one you want. So
Yes,
you
and
can just
both are
say,
both are very important. If you want to be, if you want to go through life without being ridiculed, and you think that life is for soft losers, then you need more ridicule in your life. That's the
you do,
reality.
because that pushes you towards the better, right?
And Ben is more than happy to dispense ridicule when necessary.
Absolutely, because you need someone like that in your life. And I feel like people don't get ridiculed enough because there's so much sensitivity, and it's such an absolute shame. It's a huge disservice to people.
Yeah. Uh, Ben, which of your disciples is the Judas Iscariot? Who do you think is going to betray you?
Absolutely, none of them, Carl, because I've also not got close enough to them to be betrayed.
Joking atheist says the old man test is being able to get your shoes and socks on before the husband makes it to the bedroom.
That one too. See,
That's
it's
hilarious.
important to have
Yeah.
these things, no matter what your environment.
So this is interesting. Shame. We've spoken about him a few times on the show, but in the news this morning, Colombia, the country of Colombia, has started sterilizing hippos descended from animals illegally brought to the country by Pablo Escobar in the 1980s. The hippos, which were originally housed in his private zoo, have spread into nearby rivers and reproduced without any control. And there's nothing that eats them. Nothing in the
Yeah,
Amazon is big
exactly.
enough to take out a hippo. So they just keep proliferating without any checks and balances. So they
Well, there
said,
was this.
"Hmm?
Sorry, the same problem in Miami with anacondas.
Correct. So the hippos are apparently they're worried because the population could grow to 1,000 By 2035, if it doesn't intervene, the government that is, hippos have no natural predators, have been declared an invasive species that could upset the ecosystem. Sterilization takes time because spotting and capturing the territorial and aggressive 3-ton animals is complicated. Can you imagine being, I don't know, some kind of animal in the Amazon in South America? Hippos have not ever been there in the memory of any animal, and even
Yeah,
people, frankly. They've never seen hippos before, and then you go for a swim in the river. You're obviously worried about the local, piranhas or whatever else the hell they have there, and then a hippo comes out at you. You don't know how to deal with that. That's terrifying. So the poor, I don't know, some local flamingo or something busy bathing in the river, and then suddenly this giant hippo. And hippos are terrifying. They're also
exactly.
extremely dangerous, right? They kill more people than anything except the malaria mosquito.
Yeah.
So when people think about, you think, oh well, lions. What are the dangerous animals in South Africa, in Africa? Lions, and it's not those. It's hippos. Actually, hippos are the most dangerous of all. You got to watch out for those
Seeing
bastards.
seeing a hippo on land is one of the scariest things because they move faster than you can ever imagine.
Terrifying. So I think that's an important story for us to pay attention to this morning. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Timber Robin will join us. Ben and I are here to look after you this Friday morning. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful day today everywhere in South Africa. So enjoy the summer and wees jou vlees, like Ben's T-shirt says this morning. Get ready for that and a whole lot more. Don't go away. Back in a sec.
Our industry is set with all of this jargon and all of these acronyms and stuff like that. So what is an omni-channel customer engagement? What does it look like?
If we think about the contact center world historically, how do we engage with our customers? So typically it'd be a phone call. You have a bunch of agents that are continuously manning in and outbound calls. And that's how our customers used to engage with us. Your end users and your consumers are all moving, more to the social channels like Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, all the different other omni-channel, or I would say social channel environments. So your end customer doesn't need to necessarily, call you or call your business to engage, where they can now engage with you via their preferred social channel, whether it be WhatsApp, if you have a chatbot as an example. So all the omni functionality is around the customer's choice of engaging with your business.
Thanks for listening to Unbundled, brought to you by Catalytic, a series that aims to demystify technology so that you can make smarter decisions for your business. Remember that you can listen to all of the episodes on the Cliff Central app or website, and for added convenience, you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen. If you're looking for help with communications tools for your business, please make sure to visit catalytic.co.za.
We are live. It is Friday morning, cliffcentral.com. Yo, Ben. Just by the way, an interesting thing that Ben brought up earlier about urinals in houses, and how, if guys were in charge, they would probably add urinals to the list of things that would make a house so much better. And I think
Yeah.
that's a very good point. Why is it, do you think, that this is not a regular thing? Why do you reckon that urinals aren't part of people's interior planning?
Well, I would say that if a woman sees a urinal, they'll get really freaked out. It's like, it's so gross. And I think women have a big say in like what happens in the interiors of homes.
Yes, so
So
women
we've got
sign off on these things, yeah.
so look, women can have the really nice bathrooms, okay, the nice toilet where they can go and do things. I know women don't poo, whatever they're doing there,
No, of course.
great.
Yeah.
But then I just think in the house you should always have more than one toilet.
Mm.
It's just something I've believed in, and I should really practice a bit more. But yeah, if
Well,
you have,
definitely. Apparently, it's the key to a happy relationship, and I
well,
hate to be so
it is.
navigatorial for more than the first hour of the show because we've already done this, but I did think it required a little bit of conversation there because people are asking, even the comment section, saying, "Why is it that nobody's thought of this before?" It's truly a
We,
brilliant idea.
we need to have that. I think a guy should have his place where he just goes and has a piss. As simple as
Yeah.
that. So you can have the pretty toilets, which has got like the potpourri or the whatever you want in there, the scented candles, and then there's just a place with a urinal, just straight up urinal, small little bathroom basin.
And there we
It'd be
go.
brilliant.
By the way, while we're talking about bathrooms, are you very put off by bidets?
Yeah, I just think it's a bit too pompous. It's a bit too
You think
pompous.
wash your
Yeah,
ass after you've wiped your ass is unnecessary?
I'm sure it's great. I mean, you get people who've only ever lived in the bidet life, and that's great, but it
Sure.
just feels a little bit too, I don't know, pretentious. I'd go urinal before I went bidet.
You see, Matthew says a choice between urinal and bidet. I bet the wife wins, which means
Well,
bidet.
obviously, your wife's gonna choose the bidet because it looks fancy and it doesn't smell like pee.
Yeah, but you see, that's another thing. If you have a urinal in your house, do you have to buy those cakes that they put in there?
Pee mats, ice. Yeah,
Mm.
you've
Suddenly, it's a
see,
thing.
you got to do that, obviously. And you must have
See,
like quite a deep one. Don't go cheap on your urinal. I'm looking at a couple here actually. So if you spend less than 1,000 ront on your urinal,
yeah,
so, Gareth, you're right. These things aren't even that expensive. Now I've
but
gone to Leroy Merlin for 744 rand.
there we go. See, and now all you have to do is pay a plumber like an extra 1,000, 2,000. I don't know how much a plumber is going to be to do that.
Yeah, I mean
Maybe
that's
3,000.
so. This one, the title of it's urinal Ulson ceramic, including kit and spreader. What
A
would a spreader be?
spreader. I don't know,
That's
but it
pretty.
doesn't sound very salubrious. Spreader.
Yeah, I mean, look, the actual hardware is not too expensive. It's getting it plumbed in and working. So yeah, I
Right.
just think we should maybe prioritize this in 2024.
Oh, it's terrific. The more people will start thinking this way, the better. So there's an interesting comment from somebody here. They say, "Oh, the only fancy houses they've ever been to with urinals have been owned by gay men. The women choosing the bathroom explains this." Yeah, you
Yeah,
see,
so
because if you had gay guys, they wouldn't have a woman sign off on their interior decor. So or
and
any of
also
that.
if you have a urinal, no one will suspect you're sitting down to pee. So there's
Mm,
also that. I
that's a good
just think
point.
there's nothing but
Yes.
pluses here. Yeah.
There we go. You won't have any of those suspicious looks from people going, "Oh, he's one of those guys who sits down." What do they call them? Sits and piss, something like that.
Losers.
Oh,
Losers.
terrible. Okay, so a couple of other things that I wanted to talk about this morning before we get to Timber. I just saw this week, and we talk about Black Friday, and I understand people looking for a bargain, but it's a funny thing that whenever a truck breaks down in South Africa, that it could be in the middle of nowhere. We've discussed this before. You could be in the deep Karoo with there's not a human habitation for kilometers. If a car or a truck with a whole lot of goods on it, canned things, Coca-Cola, whatever breaks down, you know what happens, right? People just out of nowhere they appear.
Yeah. Swarm it. Yeah.
Swarm. So look at this quickly because this was very disturbing to me. Here is a woman after a meat truck is overturned on some road here in South Africa. She's a very well dressed woman. She's carrying an entire cow's head out of the chaos. and laughing and smiling all the way, like she's scored a massive bargain. This is what Black Friday really looks like. Are you ready? Look at that woman. She's got a cow's.
Wow.
Yeah, she's dressed smartly. She's wearing a pair of black pants. She's got
Then
black top on. There
and
she
there's a
is.
traffic cop filming her.
Yes, he's laughing and filming her. But she's got an entire cow's bloody head in her arms, and she's running to her car, I suppose, to put it in the boot and take it home. Now, I know things are tough in South Africa. I know that things are expensive. Meat, especially, is very expensive. But the fact that this is what, and she's smiling, she's laughing. She's scored a big bonus. You can see all the people in the background gathering around that meat truck. This is a strange thing, and I thought it was worthy of at least a comment. Anything to say about this?
There's always more to the picture, right? Now, does a bus driver get fired? Does the company now have to fire people because now they've lost huge amounts of revenue? It's
Definitely.
just so short-sighted. It's frustrating.
But the also the desperation of so many people who will be, lining up to steal, because it's not your stuff. You're effectively stealing.
But that's just it. It's still theft, yeah.
Yeah, but life is so bad for so many of these people that they'll go and take stuff from an overturned truck or whatever and like run and put it in the car.
See, I don't even believe in that whole life's so bad, it's so tough kind of excuse. That's just a very convenient thing to just mask your basic shittery in life.
That's kind of where we're going.
That's what I find. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think it's an excuse either. I understand meat's expensive. It's a tough economy. People don't often, they can't afford this stuff, but that doesn't excuse really bad behavior. And to my mind, this is really just a very sad statement of humanity. Because I would not, like, if there was, I suppose it also depends on what's in the, if you saw an overturned cash and transit car with gold bars that had fallen out onto the street, would you be tempted to steal those?
Yeah, it's a tough question because you'd think, cool, but it's not yours. It's just not yours. It's just a simple rule in life. If it's not yours, don't take it.
Yeah, I just think like this woman she's dressed reasonably well, as I said, so she's got to go to work.
Can you go back to that clip? Because you started out making this point. You could be the most remote place in this country, and then suddenly there'd be a crowd. Okay, I get it. Cars stop.
Yeah,
but there is a crowd of people. There's not a building in sight here, but there is a crowd of people, and they're lining up to steal.
Mm-hmm.
How?
This was on Instagram. Don't tell me where. Don't ask me where it was. I don't know. I don't have any other details except actually the video that I just shown you. So I don't know what to make of this, except that to me it's a very sad indictment. Is she going to go home and change her shirt before she gets to work? It looks like it's morning. I don't know. She was obviously going somewhere when she decided to pull over her car and grab the cow's head. I don't know. I don't know what to make of this, but it does upset me nonetheless. I don't know. All right, let's talk to Temba Robin because he is back on the show. Hey, Temba, how the hell are you, dude?
Good, man. How you guys doing?
I love the professional setup you've got going on there because you do a lot of voiceovers and videos, and I've been watching a lot of your stuff on Instagram. I don't follow TikTok, but I just want to play this for somebody quickly, for anybody who doesn't know who you are, and just let them see what you do. And you're not scared to even go after Cyril some of the time, which is very brave. So take a look
brave or stupid. We don't know.
No, I don't think it's stupid. I think it's really entertaining. You've done some bloody funny videos. They've gone viral. We'll talk about those in a second. But just take a look at this quickly. Here's Temba with a truly Cyril experience.
Why, hello there, and welcome to the safari. Today, in the leafy green bushes of South Africa, we see a rather unsuspicious-looking couch. This, my good friends, is the species Palapalus taxivadus. Much like any other premium couch, this couch offers a truly Cyril experience. Sorry, a surreal experience. Comfort aside, the true secret weapon to this couch is its ability to store more dirty secrets than its distant cousin, the casting couch. 580,000 US dirty secrets to be exact. However, to date, not much is known about the parlors and tax evaders. Up until very
Dude, I just love that. I wasn't going to play the whole thing because people must go and watch it. That's so clever.
No, thanks, man. Yeah.
Ben
Good fun.
Ben is also a big fan of sketch comedy, and I just don't think enough people do it in this country. So I'm glad.
It's so smart. That's the thing. It's like you threw casting couch in there somehow on top of it.
So there's always, we got to always put a little bit of bait out there for those reprobates of society, you know, because I think deep down inside we are a little bit that's a little bit in all of us. So
let me just tell everybody, because you've done so much that for people who kind of think they recognize you, you've worked on like 20 TV commercials, which is, it's got to be in this country, that's a record. You've entertained crowds from sporting events to corporate evenings. You've done 2 cameo appearances in separate Netflix series. That's pretty amazing. You're a seasoned quiz master. You've run Johannesburg's biggest quiz night of over 200 people weekly, which is probably the coolest thing about you, if you ask me. I think it's bloody amazing. I mean, all the stuff's cool, but that to me is really cool because I love general knowledge. It irritates me how few people know anything and they have to Google everything that you talk to them about. And quiz night's a great way to figure out who actually knows stuff. And then you also do all these hilarious TikToks as well. Very cool.
No shot. Like, I've got a soft spot for quiz. So originally moving from PE, it's something that we never had down there. And one of the first sort of social gatherings that I went to in Joburg was a quiz night. And the first thing was
you have nothing in PE. PE is like like
I don't know.
beyond the wall on Game of Thrones. Yeah, beyond the wall. There's only wildlings there. There's nothing else going on there. PE is like there's nothing. There's no entertainment. There's nothing ever happens there. People just want to move.
Yeah, no, it's in a sad state, but I think moving here and then going to quiz and realizing how little I knew about the world. It's like there's questions that you know, but you actually don't know, and so it gives everyone a false sense of security. And I think that's the thing, is everybody thinks that they're smart until it's time to access that information. Then you realize, man, you know so little about the world you live in. You know, South Africans especially, we like to be like, oh, you know, we one of the questions that I always find fascinating that I've asked people is which country on the African continent has more official or the most official languages, and every South African is always like, it's obviously it's us, and it's not. It's Zim. I think they've got something like 13 or 14.
Really?
Yeah. And those are cool little questions just to shake up the ant's nest a little bit, and people going, wow, I need to jump into a book. I say that with bare shelves behind me, but that's only because I'm moving. I will get those.
Oh, you're moving. I thought that you built that studio to look like, because it looks very professional there. I like this setup.
No shot. Yeah, no, it's we're going for a minimalist look, but that's we're in the process of moving, so it's a bit bare.
I really like your casting couch.
Yeah, look at this.
So I had to lug this thing outside and then try and get it back inside again. And I've still never put the little feet back on because I had to take them off to get them through the doorway. So the things you do for content, guys.
Yeah.
Ben, have you ever done a pub quiz?
Lots, Gareth. I used to love quizzes. I used to host a couple of sports quizzes, and you're so right. It's because you definitely broaden your horizons. If you work in comedy or if you work in any kind of content, you need to know so much because you need to be able to like pull the piss out of something, or like just for example, the whole thing. Like, the reason I bring up casting couch is that Harvey Weinstein was one of the biggest scandals ever, right? And that was couch based, and you managed to trump that with Cyril. So just that reference there made that clip for me even funnier because you were actually taking two things. It's like, remember that? This is worse. But you do it in an indirect way because of your knowledge.
Oh, look at this. This is pathetic. Melissa says, we have an awesome established quiz night community. Mel from Gqeberha. I don't believe her for a second. That's obviously she's lying. She's a liar.
Maybe that's a more recent. Maybe that's a more recent thing. I have kept my eye on the quiz scene because I wanted to start something down in the GQ. But at least I can say with confidence, when I had left, by the time I had left, probably about 5 years ago, there was absolutely nothing. So good to hear that things have progressed.
Show people this quick.
Guys, I'm gonna be serious. If you're 20 or 30 years old and you're not yet a millionaire, then you need to.
What are you doing in my car?
Yeah, I'm so sick of seeing these people who are such losers trying to tell us how we can become millionaires if we'll just follow them or pay them some kind of subscription. Who are these people? And they're using other people's cars and hotel rooms that aren't their apartment, pretending it's their apartment. Such bullshit artists, such scammers.
The thing about scams, though, Gareth, I mean, I always think about this with these SMSs and the distant cousin who's died, and nobody would be doing this if these things didn't work. And
They clearly
it
work.
just goes. There's even if you're catching 1% of the population out there,
No.
and I think people at that point of desperation, I think young and specifically guys are at that point where shit, you'll try anything,
Yeah.
even at the risk of being scammed.
Well, you have to be a millionaire in South Africa. We interviewed two people. No, you have to. Otherwise, people don't take you seriously. Like if you
Yeah.
want, you could have stolen all your money, and a lot of people in South Africa have. They're just straight up criminals. But if you have money, it's like instant credibility in South Africa because people
Yeah.
somehow they have such a high impression and such a they attach such value to people who've made money. Who have money. Let's not say made. Who have
Yeah.
money.
Regardless of how you acquired it,
Oh.
and we like to justify. Oh no, it's fine. I think you should never be able to justify money or excess money being made in a criminal way, or
Yeah.
there's so many good ways to.
I'd rather not have money and not be a crook than be a crook and have money.
But do you think you could sleep at night? Hey Ben, what do you reckon? Like if you were
Look,
involved in some
I
illegal,
know I couldn't because I've seen too many movies and someone always gets you, or they kidnap your wife, or some like you got to be so naive and or just ignorant or dumb to think you can get away with it.
yeah,
That's I mean, maybe I look too much into it. I'm not living in YOLO, I guess.
I know somebody who was such a crook that he used to hire his own private security, which must have cost an absolute fortune. But it was partly because he wanted other people to see that he had security because it makes him look important, right? Number one. You know how these people who are VIPs, they always have, 3 or 4 bodyguards standing around them with like glum expressions on their faces and suits or whatever. And it makes them, it's all to feed the ego because actually probably no one wants to kill them. But this guy was such a crook that he had to hire security. And I asked him about it and he's like, well, no, they're probably going to be people who want to kill me. Now, I couldn't go to sleep at night and have a pleasant, happy life. That was your question. I wouldn't go to sleep at night knowing that unless I've got some big guy in a suit at my front door, I'm not going to make it through the night. I'd rather just have less, honestly.
Yeah, but you also got to think like, what was that person's life prior to that? It must have been really boring, and for them, that justifies them to feel like some sort of person of purpose and authority. Maybe that's the only way they get girls.
Yeah, yeah, probably
the be all and
Maybe
end
that's-
all.
And it's amazing how many girls, especially Joburg girls, will be excited by the fact that, oh my God, he's got bodyguards. But Timber, do you ever get blowback from these videos? I mean, especially when you go after politicians, do you get people like getting on social media and criticizing you and saying, oh, who do you think you are, taking the piss out of Cyril or the cabinet or whatever? Because people get very tense and upset.
Yeah, so I think one of the things about the writing style that we've adopted is I'll say things that are the truth without picking a side or something. There was money in a couch. I haven't mentioned whose couch it was, and so it's almost giving enough of a narrative that everybody knows what you're saying, but they've sort of filled in the blanks with truth and factual information that's accessible to everyone. And so I think with that sort of approach, I haven't deliberately gone out and said anything, and I think that's the cool thing about comedy and the careful thing you have to think about with comedy is you got to ride that line so tight, and if you go too far, it becomes crass, and I think it's the same as I think a swear word in a stand-up set is quite funny at the right time. But when your entire set is just flicking and maybe consistent sexual connotation, it
No.
feels like you had something funny, but then you pushed it too far. So you just
Mm.
ride that line a little bit. And so far, no one's brought us to book holding thumbs. I mean, yeah,
Good. I'm glad. You don't need that shit in your life. You're just trying to make
Absolutely
people
not.
laugh, right?
Guys,
yeah.
I've got to get going. I was going to ask Timber one question. Bauer Bosch, how did you guys meet and do
Mm.
things together? Because I feel like this is one of those matches it's brilliantly South African, and just your personalities and talent are so good.
Yeah, and I think it started off. I'm very much in the boat of I get frustrated with South African advertising. I think we're quite lazy, and I get it because we've been boxed in by rules, and everybody's companies don't want to tread on anybody's feelings or anything. So it's allowed
So
writers to become very
please,
yep.
they're so afraid. So it's. I often blame the ad agencies, and it's not always their fault. Sometimes the marketing boss at these companies is so shit scared of doing anything wrong that they don't do
Mm,
anything interesting. You know?
yeah. And that's exactly it. So Boer and his partner Benny, they've been making some really funny ads. So I messaged him, and that's a funny thing. I knew our relationship isn't even a year old yet. It'll be I met him last December, and I said to him, "Man, I'm loving the ads you guys are doing. Let's work together." And the first ad that he proposed, we worked on. I was shooting something else, so I couldn't work with him. So I was like, "Oh well, there we go. That's your shot. You guys will never work together." And then the tourism scandal happened earlier in the year, and
Mhm.
I think we just were thinking the same thing. We're like, we've got to take the piss on this, and from there, I think everybody's reaction to the two of us sort of teaming up was quite crazy because we were on Newsroom Africa like the next day, and people were asking, "What's your guys' campaign? What is your?" And we're like, "Bro,
No,
we just met."
taking it seriously. Wow.
Yeah, and so we've just kind of we try not to take ourselves too seriously, and we're just sort of potting along. But yeah, I think it's one of those things about chemistry that you see if two click, they click, and yeah, it's been really cool, great experience.
All right, Ben. I know you have to go. I'm going to
Yeah,
play
sorry guys, I would like
one
to
more.
stay, but I got to get going.
I'm gonna play one more of Timber's clips while you make your way out. But thanks, Ben. We will see you next
Bye,
week.
guys.
Have an awesome
Great
weekend.
weekend.
Yes. Cool.
Cheers, Ben.
Take a look.
Why, hello there, and welcome to the safari. Today, we encounter a rather mystical creature named the South African Cabinet. Named a mystical creature because most of us don't know what the hell is going on inside it. When observing the top of any cabinet, it's not unlikely to find a little bit of dirt. But in this case, we find remnants of a little arms deal. With the scientific name, the Geriatricus Cabinet Parasitus, it is not a great cabinet, but it is the only one we have. It does, however, play a rather important role, because inside this cabinet there are an estimated 30 influential candles that are tasked with leading South Africa to a brighter future. Here we have the...
Dude, this is so clever. I love it. By the way, your David Attenborough voice is fantastic as well. And I've got to compliment you on those shoes. What are they, like zebra Feldschooner?
Yeah, exactly that. So they're my dazzling zebra, because a group of zebra was called a dazzle. So they're my dazzling zebra fellies from KZN.
They're lovely. They're fantastic.
Uh-huh.
Very, very cool. Very South African, hey? I mean, you're not going to get that in any other country in the world.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah, no.
Well, what are you one of those people who, because you are interacting with everybody all the time and you're making all this content and you're doing events and you have to keep up to date with news, so you almost feel like you have to know what's going on in Russia and Ukraine and the Middle East and with American politics and China and all this stuff, or do you not feel that pressure at all?
I don't necessarily feel the pressure, I think, on a daily basis, but I mean, if I'm making content, if I'm making something to put out into the world, then I think it's super important to have done your due diligence in terms of your research and stuff. So I'll always play catch up, and I think I keep a relative pulse on what's going on. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think life is crazy busy. I've got 2 toddlers. Work's going really well, so blessed in that regard. But I don't really have time to watch a lot of the news, and for the most part, it's depressing as all hell.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
very hard.
that's the reason I ask is because
Mhm.
I've got to tell you, I can't handle too much news in my week.
Yeah.
I mean, we try on a Friday. We don't do politics. We don't do too much news. On a Thursday, I get to do a lot of that. And it's once a week is enough. Frankly, you can get all of that. I think about again how our ancestors would have behaved. And you would maybe only have known the news of your village. And you wouldn't
Yeah.
have really, there could have been, God knows, like some terrible fucking massacre 4 villages away. And you wouldn't have heard about it until, I don't know, maybe you would never have heard about it, but otherwise you would have heard like 6 weeks later that something had
Yeah.
happened. It would be too late. The dead would be dead. The living would have conquered whatever, it would have happened, and you would have found out so much later that there's nothing you could do about it anyway.
Yeah. It
And I
just
feel
is
like,
news.
yeah, sorry, I feel like a lot of news we talk about this thing called compassion fatigue because
Yeah.
you're constantly having to feel bad about an earthquake in Bangladesh or a building that's collapsed in Turkey or some kind of war somewhere. Yeah, like I don't have any more empathy to give.
Yeah. So I've thought of a solution to this, and this is just purely because I have some people in my circles who are championing everything, and even moving
Oh,
into the public space, I,
oh,
I've I've had to be quite vocal about saying, okay, I have 2 CSI elements. I can't save everything and do everything and be
oh,
irate for everything. I think each
oh.
person should be allowed 3 causes, and you're allowed to change it once every 6 months. And those are the only 3 things you're allowed to complain about the entire 6 months. And you have to actually do stuff about that. So if you pick children's education, conservation, and global warming, whatever it is, you are
Yeah.
not allowed to complain about pit bulls. You're not allowed. And if pit bulls are more important than those 3, then at 6 months' time, you get to swap one of your CSIs out. But we
Yes.
can't all be complaining about everything all the time.
No, it's too much, right? It's just too
Yeah.
much. Stop it. You're making the rest of us exhausted. That is such a good plan. I think we must implement this immediately. This is why you should be minister of something. I mean, it would be ideal.
If there's a minister of fun times or something, I'll take it on. Or so.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
I also think like you have to take life less seriously, not more. I see
Mm,
so many people online who also they get into an absolute state about something every day. One
yeah.
day they're upset about Woolworths not giving you plastic bags. The next day they are campaigning for I don't know, Azerbaijan. The next day they're doing an animal rights protest, and you're just like, this is too much for one person. So we're going to implement your plan, one thing per
Yeah.
person from now on.
Yeah. Do you think people get addicted to that though, Gareth? To being in that frantic state
Mm,
of mind of
yeah,
because I
they get it. Listen, there are 2 kinds of problem here. The first problem is that people are addicted to the attention they get on social media from being cross about everything
mm,
or getting upset about stuff the whole time because it gets you a reaction. I mean, there's one person I know on social media. He's not even a friend really, but I've been following him, and he posts these things that they're designed to make everybody react. So it's
yeah,
clickbait effectively. But he's a smart guy, but he finds things that are relatable, but he's really just trying to provoke. It's not evoke. He's trying to provoke a reaction out of people. And it's exhausting. Like I see his stuff and I go, look at all those people falling for this. And he's getting a
yeah,
thrill out of it because he's getting lots of engagement in inverted commas. But who cares? Because he's not monetizing it. This is on Facebook and Instagram, for God's sake. And it's not like you can
yeah,
make money out of that. So it's a bit sad. And the other kind of addiction is this addiction to bad news, where you get into the spiral of having to know everything that's going on. So then you're following all these stories. People are telling you what's happening here and there and everywhere. And you're suddenly getting all this information. And then you go under that into the comments sections and you start
Oh,
looking at, well, what are people saying about this information? And I think that can be so deadly because, as humans, we have a capacity to have this many things in our head and
yeah.
not much more in any given day. They say that you can make a total of, I think it's somewhere around 40 or 50 decisions a day. That's about it. That's your ceiling. So if
Yeah.
you're in the shops and you spend 10 of those decisions on, do I want the chopped tomatoes or the chopped tomatoes and onion, or do I want the red apples or the green apples? You've wasted 2 of your potential decisions that day on stupid shit that you
Yeah.
didn't need. And I don't know that humans are meant to have so much information. So that's just my take on it. And I'm asking you because, I mean, you're the kind of guy who puts a lot of topical stuff on. Here's some questions for you, though. Let's just quickly go to some of those. I think that's interesting. Carl says, please ask Tembo if he's able to monetize any of his videos, aside from the ads, of course.
So the monetization story, I think there definitely is a way, but I've always been of the mindset, I just want to create for the sake of creating. And if you want to start monetizing a platform, you need to be pushing out 3 or 4 videos a week.
Oh, yeah.
You need that constant engagement. I mean, that's how the YouTube guys do it. It's volume and consistency. So I've never wanted to be that guy, so to speak. And so I never set up my platforms correctly, I don't think. And even when a lot of my mates have said, dude, just do it. So I get a little bit of ad revenue off it, which is nice.
Yeah.
But the potential or the spin-off work from that is immense. I think, again, we touch back on, we live in a space where, everyone's super careful from an agency perspective. Coming up with new ideas is quite tough. So it makes a lot of sense to go onto a world like TikTok or Instagram where people are already funny and getting engagement and start not copying, but partnering with those people and, saddling up. And it's a good relationship to have for creatives like myself. So it's not direct monetization, but the spin-off is immense.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because it's a lot of work producing these things.
Yeah, it is. It's nice. It's nice to get rewarded. There is a fair line though that comes along, and I'm possibly at it, is where creating content starts to feel like a job. It essentially is. Don't get me wrong. That's how I make my money. But it gets into that job realm where you start to resent having to wake up in the morning and make stuff. So, and I think as soon as you get to that point, you need to just reevaluate a little.
Well, I think anything is like that. Even if you've got a job where you're paid to do something and you're really good at it, but you get to a point where you're just doing it because you have to. You're not going to be producing great stuff, right? When you hit that line, that's not good. Have you started feeling like that recently, or is it something that's been going for a while?
No, it's more of recent. And I think it's just because other avenues of work have also picked up. So I think to be creative, and this is a strange concept for, I think, a lot of people to get, especially like the hustle culture guys, is to be creative. Sometimes you just need to sit with a whole day with nothing to do and go and watch some ants crawling on the floor and, let your brain be in a state to create. You can't be creative between an MC gig and a voiceover gig and picking your kid up from school kind of thing. It's like you say, your brain's got to make decisions, and it's wasting all of its CPU or whatever on making the other decisions. So being too busy is detrimental to your creativity. Therefore, you stop liking what you're putting out, and things get a bit puffy.
I think that's such a good piece of advice there, and especially because this hustle culture has been sold to us as the way to be successful. And I think there's so many people in South Africa who are just desperate to get ahead, from that woman who was carrying the cow head right at the start of this hour to these guys who are desperate to show off what money they have in that clip of yours, the guy with the car. Just because they think that'll make their lives better and they'll get the respect that they feel they earn or they deserve from people. It's such a motivator, and therefore hustle culture has been raised to this like stage of I suppose human respect where people go, oh, he's a hustler, like it's a major compliment. But sometimes you actually need to take a break.
No, it is that, and I mean, even the motivational space is something. So I'm big on motivation. I love
Yeah.
first thing in the morning, pop on a bit of motivation. But what I've learned to do
What does
is
that mean?
I'll
Do you
listen.
watch certain motivational speakers? Are there people who you find inspiring who you like to listen to? How does that work?
Yeah, so like there's quite a bit of stuff out there by like Jim Rohn. He
Hmm,
I think he was quite big on on entrepreneurial things, and he's got a lot of life lessons, and I love listening to that in the morning on a podcast. But you can only take on as soon as you've heard one good concept, leave it, because that you need that concept to distill with you throughout the day. You can't. I mean, if you've got an hour-long drive, you could hear six good amazing bits of information, but you can't process all of them, so they're just a waste. And the other thing about motivation is you're all amped up when you're listening to it, and then you go out into the world, the first couple of things go wrong, and then you just go, fuck it. So it's it's motivation is dangerous in that hype up the music, the way the guys speak. It's you
yeah.
need to get better, and you in it.
It's like, for example, you can't go to church every day. For some people, church is their motivation and inspiration, right? And
Yeah.
if someone's shouting at you like those preachers do, Monday,
Mm,
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, by Sunday you're exhausted. And I
yeah.
don't think too much of anything. I think if there's a theme that's going through this hour of the show, it's like too much of anything is a bad thing.
Yeah. No, that's 100% it. Everything in moderation, I think.
Yeah. A couple of other things that people want to know here. People just love you, dude. No, really. Yeah, Gareth. So Leanne says, as a minimum, I have to make 20 decisions before breakfast, and not even for me directly. I think this is why, for example, Mark Zuckerberg, who's not a great example of humanity in many respects, but the guy puts on the same outfit every day, so he doesn't have to think about that. It's
Yeah.
one less decision to make, and that strikes a chord with me. I find that very, very well thought through. He's like, okay, I'm going to decide now on a day where I have some spare capacity, what did you call it? Random
Mm,
access memory, and I'm going to decide gray shirts and jeans. And then I'm going to go to the shops. I'm going to buy 10 pairs of jeans and 20 gray shirts. And that's my outfit sorted out for the year. I will not be in anything else. And that's what he does. And he's
yeah.
one of the richest people in the world. So I'm sure he has to make important decisions every day.
No, I think that's 100% true. And I think old iPhone, now I've forgotten his name. But
Steve Jobs.
Jobs, yes, Mr. Jobs, he was of a similar mindset. And it makes a hell of a lot of sense. If you can wake up in the morning and not have to change your shirt 3 times because the shoes that you thought you had aren't there, now your whole ensemble doesn't go together. You could save yourself an infinite amount of time, and you go out into the world confidently because you're confident in the way you look. If you rushed, you make a bad decision, you're in a shirt that you're not particularly a big fan of, or makes you look funny from the one side, or there's maybe just bigger guy problems. But
Yeah.
now you're slightly self-conscious the whole rest of the day, and that affects your decision making, the way it affects every part of your day. Yeah.
Well, there's someone who said to me yesterday, I had a meeting, and he does this thing when he gets too comfortable in life. He does little things, like, for example, he said, brush your teeth with the opposite hand. Now, I always brush my teeth with the right hand, and it would be the weirdest thing ever if I had to start brushing my teeth with the left hand. I didn't try it this morning, but maybe I'll try it over the weekend, because I don't want to fuck it up and there'll be just toothpaste everywhere. It's going to be such a disaster, and I'll have to go really slowly, or I'll like hurt myself because I'll be too scrubbing like a maniac or whatever. So I'm going to try that. But it's amazing how if you do a little thing like that and you change one small thing about your day-to-day routine, which is, these are the things that we do every day. These are the things that actually matter more than those holidays once a year, or
Mhm.
the renovation you're doing to your house, or the new job, or the new car, or whatever else. It's that day-to-day routine stuff. And if you change something in that, it's amazing how much other stuff changes.
Yeah, shake it up. So talking about the toothbrush thing, have you? I don't know if you're a showerer or a bather, a
No,
bather, as I should say.
shower every day.
There we go. I think with water being the way as scarce it is, you're a special person to take a bath. But
Although
wh-
I got to tell you, like, I don't know that a shower saves that much more water. If I think about it, I don't sit, I don't stand in the shower for hours and hours. But
yeah,
there's a lot of water coming out of that damn thing, and I hear these people going, "Oh no, a bath is a waste of water." At least with a bath, once you're in it, you don't normally add to it, right? You're like in the
yeah,
bath, and then you stay in there for a while, and you get out. I don't like it, but I'm not so sure it saves you that much more water. Just
yeah. I think
thought.
I'd be interested to have a look at that. I mean, I think you have special water saving ones, but those things, water saving heads, but those things cost the earth. But the thing I was getting to now is I clicked the other day. Every time I get out the shower, I dry myself in the exact same sequence, day in,
Yeah,
day out.
yeah.
And
You
I
don't
was
even
I
think
was
about
one,
it.
yeah. And I was thinking when you were saying, start maybe you brush with your left hand. I'm like, maybe I'm going to start drying myself with my right foot. I don't even know if I'd know where to go from there. But it's just it's such a strange
Getting into
habitual.
end up getting into your clothes and you're still wet.
Yeah, I just tried the one leg and forgot to do everything else. But it's such a, yeah, like I say, such a strangely habitual thing that you just do the same sequence every single time. It's weird.
Well, George, who's going to be joining us just now, he's the CEO of Auto Trader. He says here, why do you wonder? Have you ever wondered why I only wear black? It's for the same reason. And then Carl says the opposite. He says, I do not want to live in a world where I dress the same every day. How fucking boring. My watch strap matches my shoes every day. I don't want to be Zuckerberg. Okay.
I think that's fair. I think if you've got the time to prioritize that, then, and I think that's all it is. It's a priority thing. If that is going to make the difference in your day, then it's a priority. Therefore, the time
I
spent is valid.
listen, Temba, I don't know a lot of women who would be able to just wear the same thing every day. In fact, I cannot think of one. I
Yeah,
don't think it's possible for women to wear the same thing every day. They would go to them. There's an importance to. I was having this discussion just this week with Bakabantu, I think on Tuesday. We were talking about how if like I will never remember what you wore in this interview.
Mm.
Even tomorrow, if someone says to me, "Oh, I saw you with Temba yesterday. It's interesting you were both wearing like gray shirts." I wouldn't. I would go, "Huh? I don't even remember what I was wearing yesterday. Do you remember what you
Yeah,
wore yesterday?"
yeah. No idea. Like even if I'm looking for my car keys, can't remember
Right.
what shorts I wore.
But girls will, and they'll even remember. They'll say, "Oh, that girl wore the same outfit last week Tuesday," and you'll be horrible. I mean, as a guy, I go, "How do you even know that?"
Yeah.
That's a power I don't have. It's like Superman being able to fly to me. How do you remember what that chick wore? I don't even I don't even know what I spoke to her about, let alone what she wore. Right?
Or the levels at which two ladies wearing the same dress is completely not on. And one of my
Ooh,
best mates, Ross, we pretty
bad.
much shop at the same place because it's like super affordable. So
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, when we're buying, we're wearing 80% the same outfit kind of thing. And we think it's the coolest thing. Like the girls have actually threatened to start a sort of catalog of all the times we've bride in similar outfits. And to us, it's the best thing. Like we're like best friends, high five. But
Yeah.
in the same breath, the girls wouldn't be
Oh,
seen
no.
dead. Like one of them would go home and change if
Yeah,
that
they'd
ever
be
happened.
mortified. I mean, like for a girl to end up in the same outfit as another girl at a fancy dinner or something, one of them will have to go home and change.
Yeah. But maybe it's that competition element of who wore it better that almost becomes the thing, I think, in the two people wearing the same outfit. Do other people get critical and going, oh, she looks better in it? Or,
Yeah, well, I think that's what they think is happening, but it
yeah.
might be what other women are doing, but I've never met a
Mm,
guy who even like, you really have to okay, so as a guy, and this is not something that we're proud of, but it just is what it is. We are
mm,
not observant about that stuff. We don't pay attention to it at all. And
yeah.
I know that, you can tell if a woman is dressed beautifully, and I often will compliment a girl if she looks really good. And most of the time, girls dress better than guys anyway. So you want to compliment them. It's not like it's a hard, difficult task. It's not like, oh, I have to remember to compliment this girl. It's easy to compliment women because they mostly look good.
Yeah.
It would be very, very weird for me to say to a friend of mine who's a guy, like, "Oh, you dressed beautifully today." I don't think I've ever said, right?
Yeah. No, I think if anything, so we used to play this weird little game at varsity, you know, still in the days where guys would take forever to get dressed, and there's the six of you, you're gonna go out on the draw, and then you just pick one friend, and as they're getting ready to go to the car, you look at them, you say, "Oh, is that you going like that, eh? Oh, okay, no, cool, cool." And immediate self-doubt, and guys like, "Well, what's wrong with it?" You're like, "No, it looks fine, man. It looks it looks fine." But I think as adult men now, we're just like, bro, this is how I'm going. Take it or leave it.
If someone told me, if someone said to me, "Are you going out like that?" I would just laugh at them. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think about that stuff at all. And even when, occasionally, like a woman who you care about, who cares about you, will say, "Oh, I don't know about those shoes." Be
Yeah.
like, "Get over it. I'm not going to change them now. It's done. Who am I trying to impress?"
They're already on
I
my feet.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I went to I went into self-doubt because of something I was wearing. It's such a
Yeah.
waste of time.
No, and I think, like you said, a lot of the time it's something that's um, it's romanticized in our own heads as opposed to what's happening in reality. You walk around thinking everybody's noticed the stain on the back of your shirt. No one's seen that. They saw your grimacing face and wondered what's wrong with you, but no one noticed the stain on
Don't
your shirt.
you worry though with the videos that you're wearing the same outfit in too many of the videos, or does that not? Do you think about the outfits at all for those?
No, so for most of the safari stuff, I've always worn the same outfit, which has been sort of beneficial to the brand building. But now if I go and speak so I've been lucky enough to be invited to quite a few corporates, to MC and do bits and that sort of thing, and it's great to be invited. Any corporate gigs are great, especially when you're an aspiring MC and that sort of thing. But I don't want to go in my safari gear. It's the
Do they
worst.
ask you
And
to? Do
people,
they say, "Oh,
yeah,
won't you wear your safari gear?" Oh, really?
people were like, "Oh, please, can you come in there?" And I'm
Oh
like,
no,
I don't know, guys, because
oh
that's a
no,
character, and then MCing is a different character,
no, no.
and
That's embarrassing. You don't want to do that.
yeah, and walking through like Santon in the safari gear,
No,
you're not
definitely, hell no.
you're not getting to where you're going on time. That's for sure.
Oh my god. I mean,
Yeah.
do people ask you to do your stuff when they meet you in like a public place? So you'll be, I don't know, you're going to drop your rubbish off at the gate of your complex or something, and someone go, "Oh, Demba, why don't you do that funny thing that you did the other day? I saw you on the internet. You did that thing with Cyril and that cabinet."
Yeah, look, I'll come out and say I always enjoy interacting with guys, and I appreciate people approaching
Not
me.
not
I
those
don't know how
people.
long that'll last, but
Don't talk shit.
but
Those people that we're talking about now are a pain in the ass. Come on,
no,
level
so
with.
the funny thing is they'll come up and then it's never for themselves. Everybody always goes, "Oh, my husband is the biggest fan, or my wife's the biggest fan, or my cousin's the biggest fan." You are
Yeah.
never the person approaching is never the biggest fan. But anyways, and then they'll say, "Do you mind just sending a video to
Oh
my
no.
my friend Lynette?" Or and so
What
often
what
I'll
do you
do.
do? Because I'll copy whatever you say, and because you're a friendly, nice human being. I'm not. I just go, nah, don't care about Lynette.
Look, Gareth,
Lynette's
like I say, I don't know how long it lasts because slowly but surely you start to understand why celebs are the way they are. It is quite difficult to be overbearingly bubbly to every single person you meet, and then 100 people flog you down for ages. So, but I'll always try and be friendly. I'll try my best.
George. Here's George Meany. We were just talking. Are you wearing black today? Look at you. There we go. He's wearing black. There we are. Good work,
Yeah,
George. And you in your garage.
I am in my garage because I have the GWM Oro Funky Cat.
What the hell?
Nice.
What is it?
It is officially, besides that little cockroach that they call South Africa's cheapest electric car, this is officially a car.
Okay.
And it's currently South Africa's cheapest.
I'm sorry. Were you referring to the Bajaj just now when you were being rude?
No,
Oh.
no. I wasn't referring to the Bajaj. I was
'Cause
referring to
We have a very soft spot on this show for the Bajaj, okay? We won't tolerate any of that.
What was the car I was referring to? No,
I don't know.
can't-
You called it a cockroach. I mean, it
Is
sounds
is
terrible.
the Bajaj one doing the one that's in vast numbers in Johannesburg?
Those yellow
Yes.
things, man. You know those yellow
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
But
The
I
ones
love
you
but
need
the
a
Bajaj
bike
is-
license for.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
petrol powered, though. It's petrol powered.
All right, so George, what is this thing? Is it a tiny little two-seater? Like, how does it work?
No, it's a 4-seater proper car, Gareth. It's actually pretty good. I mean, I'll try and lift up the camera there and
Oh,
let you have a look. It's a proper car. It's the
called an
size of
Aura.
Aura, yes, but its variant name is called a Funky Cat.
Okay.
So it's
I don't-
about the size
to be honest
of.
with you, George, at first sight, I don't love it. Hey, it looks a bit odd.
I think I probably got the arse end of it in the picture. That's why.
Yeah, probably. Maybe.
But it fits that profile. It fits that
Yeah.
small car profile. Remember, we had the Ford car at one point.
Yeah.
That similar
Right.
dinky shape. The Uno similar shape. So it's well within its world. It looks like from this angle, at least.
Yeah.
But can I ask what defines it? You keep saying it's a real car. What puts it in that realm of real car?
Well, it's got 4 seats. I mean, this is my own definition. It's got 4 seats. It's got all of the amenities of today's entry-level cars, which is aircon, power steering. It's 0 to 100 in 8.4 seconds, which is not a fast electric car, but it's faster than a 1958 Ferrari. So it's still in that electric car realm. It drives smoothly. It's not top heavy like the Bajaj.
All right. Well, I'm not impressed, but I did find a picture of it that may help us to get a better idea of what this thing is. Maybe I won't be so rude after showing people what I saw, which is the whole car. Because the back, it looks like Temba says, like pretty much any other car. All right, so here's a.
Oh, did we
Oh,
lose
I can't
Gareth?
see it.
No. I think Gareth is.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened. I tried to load a picture and the whole thing just crashed on me. So here it is. This is what it looks like when George is driving it on the road. Doesn't look so bad when you see it like that, right?
No, it's. I think it's. I mean, they've stole the design. They've copied the design for the front from Porsche. You can see the Porsche nose.
That's
Little
not
bit,
bad.
maybe the Mini.
I take back my rude comments. Okay, so how long you got this for, and who manufactures these?
So GWM manufactures it, and it is now officially in the country. So the Aura Funky Cat. This is the Funky Cat TT, which has got the little fin on the back, and it's got better wheels. So if you look there, it's got wheels with red. It's got these little red pieces of trim. Yeah.
I like it. All right, George, you've won us over.
You know what? I think probably comparable to Suzuki Swift, if I had to kind of put it into a category, probably comparable to a Suzuki Swift.
And price-wise, what are we talking about?
So this one is 800. I think it's 850,000 rand, but they start at just under 700, I believe.
Sure, it's quite expensive, but
Still
don't listen to me. What do I know about cars? All right, George, what else have you got for us this morning?
So Black Friday is today. Now, I don't know whether everybody wants to talk about Black Friday or whether it's getting old news, but Auto Trader has 25 million rands worth of savings on discounted vehicles on Black Friday today.
That is worth talking about on any day, but especially Black Friday. Very good.
So if you go on to autotrader.co.za, there is a Black Friday tab. If you go and search through those Black Friday cars, you will get plenty of cars and buckies and even commercial vehicles for sale.
Sounds awesome. That sounds like a great place to start looking for bargains.
Yeah.
25 million rands worth of bargains. But talking about bargains, did you know that Warren Buffett drives a damaged 2014 car that has got hail damage? That's why they call it damaged.
Yes.
When his net worth is worth 116 billion US dollars.
You know, it actually comes up if you type in Warren Buffett. One of the first things that comes up is this car. It is
Old
such
car.
it is such a terrible car. I mean, I'm going to show you a picture of it now. It's like a Cadillac, right?
Yep.
No, looks it's like a typical old man car, but it is so boring. And this guy is a billionaire. He's one of the richest people in the world. Temba, don't you think that's a little bit miserly of him to be driving this shitty thing when he could be driving the car he wants? Look at that. I mean, really, what an old man, what a boring old car.
Yeah, look, I think it goes back to, I can't remember who said it earlier, but saying they'd die if they had to wear the same thing every day. I definitely think there's merit in keeping things simple, but there's definitely a line. And I've gone through a couple of cars this year, like sponsored vehicles, and then buying a couple myself. Haven't quite found the right fit. And it's always a thing of like, do I just want something sensible? But sometimes when you're driving around in a sensible car, you go, man, I want something a little bit fun. Just
boring.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I wouldn't.
I have a lot of admiration for Warren Buffett, but this is just, it's so sad that he would drive this thing around. So sad. And he still lives
How
in the
often
same,
do you think he drives?
He lives in the same house that he's had for the last, I don't know, 50 years as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Lives in the same house as I think he might have grew up in or something. I heard. So 2014 Cadillac XTS. And to answer your question, Timber, he drives 3,500 miles per year.
So not a lot.
Yeah,
so not a lot. And his reasoning is he doesn't like assets that depreciate. It's a good reason. He doesn't like assets that depreciate, and it's kind of explains why the secondhand market for cars in most countries is 2 to 3 times bigger than the new market in most countries. Is because
makes sense. Okay, and you're taking advice there from somebody who really knows how to make money. So I'm not going to knock it. What can I tell you? All right, very good.
And then finally, Gareth, before we get to trivia, Portugal apparently has run on 100% renewable energy for 6 days straight.
Really?
Wow.
What is that, wind and solar? Because that would be quite an achievement.
So wind, hydro, and solar, apparently on the 31st of October, they turned on the renewable energy source for 6 days. Gas plants were all ready to use, and the entire country ran off renewable energy. And apparently there's 10 million people living in Portugal. I mean, I've visited a couple of countries in the world. I'd say there are 2 that I would live in, and those 2 are Mauritius and Portugal.
Really, George? Those are your 2 countries. If you were to live outside of South Africa, those would be the choices.
Those would be the choices. I think.
Why Portugal? I'm interested in that. Tell me why.
Well, I mean, I visited Cascais. I'm going to Portugal again in January, but I went to Cascais, which might be a little bit of a false sense of Portugal, but the people were friendly. The sky was beautifully blue. Everything was green. It just seemed to be a vibey, friendly place, and it was pretty. It was almost like Cape Town times 10.
Wow, that's
a lot.
That's a great compliment for Portugal. Okay, so tell me a little bit about this. Why are you bringing Portugal up in this conversation?
So they ran on renewable energy for the 6 days.
Are you being paid by the World Economic Forum to tell us about this?
Not at all. Not at all. Just a story we picked up on.
I'm just checking out. You never know. You've got to check out where your people are getting their stories from and why they're talking about this stuff. I'm just checking.
What's the motive?
There is no motive. Well, I mean, I suppose the motive might be the 2 electric cars that are standing behind me. But
okay, fair enough. But you've always been to your credit, George, you've always been very big on electric vehicles, despite all my protestations to the contrary.
Yeah, Gareth, and my reasoning is the climate is a secondary reason.
Yes.
My reasoning has always been it's just better, simpler, longer lasting technology.
Right. See,
And then
Temba,
it
he's
saves
a very
the planet.
thoughtful. He's a thoughtful chap. This George. He's
Yeah.
not just saying stuff for effect.
No, I can appreciate that. I definitely do. I wanted to ask, what's the take up on electric cars in SA? I mean, obviously, I think it's probably in a slightly higher, there's upper echelon afford it, but aspirationally.
So that's a good question, Temba. So last year, South Africa sold 500 electric vehicles. In the first 6 months of 2023, we sold 500. So there's a doubling effect.
Okay.
The challenge is exactly as you point out. These cars are mostly, except for the Aura Funky Cat now and the Volvo EX30 that will be coming beginning of next year, most of them are north of R1 million to buy.
Sure.
So you're looking at the premium segment for electric cars right now.
Considerable capital outlay is what I call that. Warren Buffett shitting himself on that scale. Okay, let's play some trivia. Okay, you know how this works, Temba. You just shout out the answer. If you shout it out before me, you might get the point if you're right. If you don't, you lose.
All righty then.
He's a pro. He's a pro, by the way. He runs his own quiz, so he knows exactly.
Now I've said way too much. Feeling rather vulnerable, but here we go.
First question. What was the pony car that featured in the movie Vanishing Point?
Ooh. Yeah, I think that's no point for me.
I get 0 on this one. I'm sorry.
When
Sorry,
you say the pony car, like a Mustang or something.
1970 Dodge Challenger. That was a pony car in Vanishing Point. Next question is a lot easier. In the 1960s Australian movie, what was the muscle car from Mad Max?
You
know what? I'm not going to get this. Sorry.
Shelby Cobra. No, I don't know.
Close, but no cigar. 1973 Ford Falcon.
Okay. Sorry, George. Very disappointing.
Just missed it.
Another disappointment from Temba and I. Maybe the third time lucky. Let's try the next one.
What is the name of the movie that featured in a 1970 Dodge Charger driven by Vin Diesel?
That's a Fast and Furious, must be.
Fast and Furious. No. Yeah.
Okay. It's the only thing I know Vin Diesel for.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. You still beat me too.
Fourth question. What car did John Wick drive?
It was also a Charger, no?
It was an American muscle car, yeah. Not that one.
I'm pretty sure that was like I was gonna say Mustang, but then I think it might have been a Corvette.
1969 Mustang. Yeah.
I got you. All right, cool. I'll take it. I'll take that point. Yes, I'll grab it with both hands. Temba's got one. I got one. Let's go.
Then what?
This makes me feel nervous. Whenever the quizmaster goes,
what is this, George? What is it?
What car featured in Dumb and Dumber?
The
It was a dog called Mutt Cuts.
I love that car. That car was covered in fur, and it had a dog's face on the bonnet.
Yep.
And the wee leg for the petrol, for the gas.
Yes, and the piss leg would go up for the gas. But God knows what. It was like some kind of station wagon, wasn't it?
It was one of the big Chevy, Chevy Transport-ish kind of thing, or?
Well, I mean, it's an American movie, so it has to be an American car, I would imagine. So it was a similar car to the one used in...
I'm not going to get it.
A Ford
Econoline. It's called a Ford Econoline. If you Google it, you'll see.
Okay.
Ford
Jesus.
Econoline. Econoline.
Okay. Econoline.
Econoline. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, okay. I eventually got there, but I didn't get the point, so I don't care. Sorry.
I think a dismal performance all round. Nobody should be.
If this was your
winning
quiz, would you stop doing the quiz completely? Would you just give up on it?
No, because there's always one person who's got 100% at this point. There's always one of those guys who's like, "Can you make the questions harder?" And everybody else is sweating bullets.
Oh, terrible. All right, George, thank you so much. I'm sorry we were disappointing on the quiz front. Some days you win, some days you lose.
Some days you win, some days you lose. Have a wonderful weekend, Gareth and Tim.
Yeah. Temba, nice to have you on,
Cheers,
dude.
Rick.
It's always lovely to see you. And thanks for making us laugh on the social media. Very, very good to see you. And we will catch up on Monday morning at 6 a.m. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Ciao.